Homelessness in America is not a new problem, but today, it has reached a level that shocks both citizens and visitors alike. When you walk through many major cities, you see tents lined up on sidewalks, people sleeping on benches, and families carrying their belongings in bags and carts. The United States is one of the wealthiest nations in the world, yet millions of its people live without a permanent place to stay. This is not just a housing issue, it's a humanitarian crisis that touches nearly every corner of the country. At its core, homelessness means not having a safe, stable, and secure place to call home. But the reality is more complex. For some, it means sleeping on the streets. For others, it's bouncing from one shelter to another or living temporarily in a car. Families may crowd into a relative's home, not knowing how long they can stay. Young people may couch surf from one friend's place to another, never having their own space. No matter the form it takes, homelessness strips people of privacy, safety, and stability. The numbers tell part of the story. Each year, hundreds of thousands of Americans experience homelessness. But statistics can never fully show the pain, exhaustion, and fear that come with not knowing where you will sleep tonight. Behind every number is a real person, someone's parent, child, friend, or neighbor. One of the biggest drivers of homelessness is the rising cost of housing. Across the country, rent prices have gone up dramatically, while wages have not kept pace. In cities like Los Angeles, San Francisco, and New York, the average rent for a one-bedroom apartment can be higher than what many full-time workers earn in a month. Even people working 2 jobs struggle to keep up. For those living paycheck to paycheck, one setback, a medical bill, job loss, or family emergency, can quickly lead to eviction. Once someone is evicted, finding a new place becomes even harder. Shelters exist to provide temporary relief, but they are not enough. Many shelters are overcrowded with long waiting lists. Some have strict rules that make it difficult for people to stay, especially those with children, pets, or health challenges. Safety is another issue. People often report theft, violence, and poor conditions inside shelters. As a result, many individuals prefer to stay in tents or on the streets, where at least they can control their space.
Mental health plays a major role in this crisis. A large number of people experiencing homelessness struggle with conditions like depression, schizophrenia, or post-traumatic stress disorder. Without stable housing, it becomes almost impossible to manage these conditions. Hospitals and clinics often treat people for short periods, then release them back onto the streets. The cycle repeats itself. Addiction also plays a part, though it is often misunderstood. For some, drug or alcohol use led to homelessness. For others, life on the streets pushed them towards substances as a way to escape pain, fear, and hopelessness. The criminal justice system adds to the problem. Many people leaving prison or jail have no homes to return to, no job prospects, and little support. Without stability, they are at high risk of becoming homeless. At the same time, being homeless can itself lead to arrest. Cities across America enforce laws against camping in public spaces, loitering, or even sitting too long in one spot. People living on the streets are ticketed or arrested for simply trying to survive. Once they have a criminal record, it becomes even harder to find housing or work, trapping them in the cycle. A particularly striking feature of modern homelessness in America is the rise of tent encampments. These are not small groups of people, but entire communities built on sidewalks, empty lots, and parks. Some stretch for blocks, with hundreds of tents side by side. These encampments often lack basic sanitation. No bathrooms, no running water, no trash removal. They attract rats, disease, and crime, but they also serve as a lifeline for people who would otherwise be alone. Living in a tent city at least offers a sense of community, where people look out for one another. Yet authorities frequently clear these camps, throwing away people's belongings and forcing them to move again and again. Families with children face unique struggles. Imagine being a child who has to sleep in a car, move from motel to motel, or spend nights in a noisy shelter. It affects education, health, and emotional well-being. Teachers often notice children coming to school hungry, tired, or unable to focus. Some children miss school entirely because their families are constantly moving. Growing up without stable housing leaves scars that can last a lifetime. Veterans are another group heavily affected by homelessness. After serving their country, many return with physical injuries and mental health issues like PTSD. While there are programs designed to help veterans, they often fall short. Veterans may face long waits for services, and some slip through the cracks entirely. It is a painful reality that those who once wore the uniform to defend the nation now find themselves sleeping on its streets. Young people also make up a growing portion of the homeless population. Many are teenagers who ran away from abusive households. Others are LGBTQ youth rejected by their families. Without money or support, they end up living on the streets, where they are vulnerable to exploitation and trafficking. These young people face enormous barriers to building stable, healthy lives. The economic costs of homelessness are massive. Cities spend billions on emergency services, police, and hospital care for people living without homes. Businesses suffer when customers avoid areas filled with tents and encampments. Taxpayers pay for temporary fixes that do not solve the root problem. In truth, it often costs less to provide permanent housing and support than to leave people on the streets. Solutions do exist. One promising approach is called Housing First. Instead of making people prove they are ready for housing by overcoming addiction or finding work, Housing First programs place people in stable homes immediately. Once housed, individuals are far more likely to succeed in tackling other challenges. Studies have shown this method saves money by reducing hospital visits, jail stays, and emergency services. More importantly, it restores dignity and stability to people who desperately need it. But housing alone is not enough. America also needs stronger mental health services, better addiction treatment programs, and more job opportunities. Preventing homelessness is just as important as responding to it. This means providing rent assistance, enforcing protections against unfair evictions, and ensuring that working families can actually afford to live in the communities where they work. Charities and community groups play a vital role. From soup kitchens to outreach programs, they provide meals, clothing, and support. Volunteers bring kindness and compassion to people who are often ignored or treated with hostility. But charity alone cannot end homelessness. It requires government action at every level: local, state, and federal.
At the heart of the issue is compassion. It is easy to walk past a homeless person and not make eye contact. It is easy to think they brought it upon themselves. But the truth is that homelessness can happen to anyone. A sudden illness, job loss, or family crisis can push even middle-class families into poverty. When we see someone on the street, we are looking at a person who has endured hardships we may not fully understand. The homelessness crisis is a test of America's values. Does the nation believe that every person deserves a safe place to sleep at night? Does it value human dignity enough to invest in housing, health care, and support systems? Or will it continue to treat homelessness as a problem to push out of sight rather than solve? In the end, homelessness in America is not just about people without homes. It is about the society they live in. A society is judged by how it treats its most vulnerable. Right now, America has millions of people living without shelter, without stability, and without hope. The path forward is not simple, But it begins with recognizing the humanity of every homeless person. It begins with compassion, investment, and action. If solutions are ignored, the problem will continue to grow. Tent cities will expand, families will continue to suffer, children will grow up without stability, veterans will be forgotten, and the cycle will continue. But if solutions are embraced, if housing and support are prioritized, then the crisis can be reduced and lives can be rebuilt. Homelessness is one of the greatest challenges of our time, but it is not unsolvable. It requires courage, compassion, and a belief that no one should be left behind. Every person deserves a chance to live with dignity. Every person deserves a place to call home. And until America makes that a reality, the crisis will remain one of the nation's deepest wounds.